Hi, this is JP Singh with Arts and International Affairs, and we have Shanul Sharma with us with Opera Australia. Welcome, Shanul.
Thank you very much for having me, JP. It's such a pleasure.
Such a pleasure to have you, and thank you for joining us all the way from Australia. You are a principal with Opera Australia, but you took up opera singing only in 2012. Before that, you were in a heavy metal band, and you grew up in a household in India, which was full of Bollywood songs. So the world of opera is new, but you've certainly made your mark. Among other things, you are a principal with Opera Australia. So Shanul, thanks again for being here. Our first question for you is, what made you take this creative risk to the world of opera from heavy metal?
Well, you see, JP, from a very young age, I knew that I wanted to do something in music because for me, I was a very quiet and shy person in school. So music has always been an outlet for me. And when I discovered that I could sing, I realized that I don't need anything else to be able to communicate. You know, for me, it was like the ultimate high to be able to sing for people. So I started singing in school, you know, the Bollywood stuff and all that. My dad was a big fan of Muhammad Rafi, Kishore Kumar songs, and he still maintained, you know, until he passed away, that my musical spark was ignited when I would be lying in the back seat of our Fiat while he would be driving around India while he was playing Bollywood tunes. So you know, I started singing in school, and there was positive response. And then when I moved to Australia to study IT, my dad would always say, you know, keep the music up as well. So you know, that gave me some sort of encouragement. And at that point in time, I was big into the heavy metal bands that were, you know, that had done all the stuff in the 80s. I loved that sound. And there were some, you know, bands like Metallica. And then later on, I got really big into Dream Theater and, you know, bands like that. And so we started writing music within the band that I joined. And then a new passion for songwriting and developed as well. And while I was creating music, one day I came across a video of Luciano Pavarotti singing Nessun Dorma. And, you know, I had remained for about, you know, the 10, 12 years that I sang in the Bollywood stuff, then heavy metal, I remained self-taught. I never went to a voice lesson or anything like that. But I had a voice that was really, really high. And I knew that, you know, that has a unique quality for a man to get that high. It's unnatural. So I heard Pavarotti and I was like, wow, this, you know, I've not heard this sort of sound before. And before that, I was never ever exposed to opera. We're talking about maybe 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I'd never heard anybody sing opera before that, but I was mesmerized by Pavarotti's Nessun Dorma. And then soon after that, Juan Diego Flores came on singing Granada for a big charity concert that he had done a few years back. And I was like, wow, this is an interesting way to sing. Let me see if I can do it. And I tried it and I blew my voice because, you know, things were not ready I could hear the sound in my head, but I didn't know how to make that sound. So I tried to use, you know, I tried to teach myself, and I got to a point where I thought, if I'm going to do opera seriously, I'd need to immerse myself into the art form. And then in 2012, the band, you know, sort of broke up, and I was like, what do I do? So I moved to Melbourne. I was living in a country town in Australia back then. So I moved to Melbourne, and I found a teacher who was affiliated with a speech level singing thing in California with Seth Riggs, and his name is Cosimo Ciccone. But he started teaching me the style of what it was to become an opera singer. And little by little, you know, I wanted to explore this style because I felt if I go into the world of opera, I can manage myself. You know, I can do that. I won't have to worry about getting 4 or 5 people to think together. I can manage my own life. So opera sort of presented itself to me because I wanted to go into a solo career, and I seemed to take it on because, you know, I felt an affinity with it.
What was that affinity? As an artist, you're exposed to the world of all sorts of arts. And you've already mentioned you had a high voice, you listened to Pavarotti, Juan Diego Flores and others. But can you go a little bit more into what was that affinity about that pulled you towards opera?
See, because I remained self-taught for a very long time, the voice is a very important instrument to me, and I explored a lot of it myself. Um, for me, what interested me in opera was the fact that when I heard it for the first time, it was like the fullest, the most complete emotional, cerebral expression of the voice, right? I mean, nothing ever came close to it before that. You know, that for me it was like when Pavarotti sang that Nessun Dorma, I was like, wow, it's and I could feel like if I could sing that way, it would be my complete sound, my complete voice. You know, there would be no uh, poppy stuff in it. I suppose it'll be just me and me only, and I have to use my entire body to do it. So that was one of the big things that actually enticed me about opera.
So as you move into opera, Shanul, you've already mentioned several things you carried with you, your background in music and having a high voice, which has surely helped you with a lot of bel canto singing that you do. Can you tell us a little bit more about what resources became available to you as you moved over to this new world of opera, and what wasn't available to you that you wish was?
So because I came from a unconventional background, I didn't have the conservatory to teach me how to read music. That was the biggest thing. I didn't realize that because before I became an opera singer, I just sang with feeling, and we wrote our own music. So it was music reading, sight reading never really came into the context. So I had to learn the circle of fifths. I had to learn how to read sheet music. I had to, learn cadences and all these sort of things. And it was a lot to comprehend, especially because in India, as you would know, we're not exposed to that sort of music education. It comes from the heart, and if the heart's pure, the music is pure. And I certainly carry that ideology with me. But as I progressed more and more, I think the resources presented themselves to me because I knew that this is the gap, this is the blank I need to fill to be able to achieve this goal. So, and there were resources available in terms of coaches, in terms of teachers, and yeah, in terms of just watching the art form. That's the biggest resource that's available.
What do you wish was there which was not available?
I mean, looking back, I would say maybe some sort of uh, probably some sort of structure, I guess, to say that okay, if you if you study this first and then that second and that third and that fourth, I think I could have probably saved a bit more time rather than me just trying to haphazardly do everything. I mean, it's still okay, everything is still fine, but a bit of structure just to kind of initiate me into that would have been I think I would have appreciated that.
Thank you, Chanel. And my final question for you is that as academics, we are very interested in the society of the arts or the hierarchies of the arts. And if there is an art form which exudes hierarchies, it's opera. To the people from outside. But within opera, we know that there are all sorts of social hierarchies that an artist must negotiate. As a relative outsider coming from India who didn't grow up in the world of opera, how did you negotiate these hierarchies?
Well, JP, I'm going to give you a bit of an out there kind of analogy. See, for me, having been in the business for a little while now, for me, opera is like this really exquisite and opulent dessert, right? There are many layers that go into making it. Of course, when you look at it from the shop window, you just see the cherry and the glazing and the cream on top. Sure, that's fine. But there are a lot of things that go to creating that, the foundation and the taste and the texture and all those things. And there are certain ingredients that go to make it. And if you ask the baker is always interested in getting the best products from sources that he or she trusts. Opera is a bit like that because the art form is so specialized. There are certain tried and tested methods that have worked for centuries. We're talking 200-300 years. So for somebody to try something new, if you're a baker and you tell, oh, you got to try this sort of flour, I'm going, well, what I have works and it's selling really well. Everybody raves on about it. What's special about your flour? So the person has to prove it, right? And that's what I felt coming into it. It wasn't so that, of course, it's hierarchical and all that, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to make music. Everybody wants to make art at the highest level possible. So, and if that means that I have to prove myself, hey, challenge accepted. There's nothing more exciting for me.